Hello everyone, it's Sloth here. Today we are going to play some more Raven Warning deck, and this will be a Esper shell. So probably you know this card, it's quite amazing and really something I like building around. And we will talk about this card in a second. Generally the rest of the deck is mostly Esper-like with some additions. We have one Fae of Wishes. Just to supplement the Wishboard, we have quite a good sideboard, so we actually want some other way. And one way, Fae of Wish, make it that for the whole game we can actually access those cards. So in case of Raven Warning, like happening something to them or just not drawing them, sometimes you can have one Fae of Wishes and just draw cards one after another in the long game. So it's actually some good repeatable way of drawing those cards, and it also doesn't cost you a draw, so if you have a lot of mana it's actually even better than the Raven Warning, and you can do it anytime you want, so you don't need to wait 3 turns. So late game it's actually much better if you have both to just play Fae of Wishes, as long as you have some mana for reactions. Other than this, we have also Elrond, and this is interesting card. I like it a lot. It's probably not the optimal card for the deck, but it has some synergies and I really like those, because Haka Whispering Raven is pretty amazing blocker for 2 mana, especially that flying comes very handy, and it's also some kind of threat with this cry, so generally it demands some kind of answer, and if not, you usually can get a lot of value from it. And what's more important, you play it on this turn 2, and on the turn 3 you use the Raven Warning, and at this point you have 2 flyers. So if the enemy doesn't have a lot of removal, one of them will hit, and this is one of the big reasons why this card is in the deck. It's also a good win condition, however mostly we win by using a Wishboard. So this is more of a side thing. Of course you can combo the Raven with the Elrond, so you attack, then scry 2, see what you get, then play Elrond for 5 mana, and you know what you will draw, so you get either 1 card or 2 cards, depending on the deck. So it's pretty good, and usually you do it late game, so like you have 8 mana, for example, you can use 1 Absorb and still draw cards and provide a huge blocker usually at this point of the game. So it's pretty sweet. It's not obligatory, you probably can switch it to something else, but I just like the synergy with the Raven Warning. Drawing 1 card and seeing the enemy hand before you wish for a card is quite huge in my opinion. And it also helps you with, refining your gameplay, because then it's up to you how you want to play this game. You have complete information about everything that's happening right now, so it's up to you to choose the correct card. And now the biggest thing in this deck, of course, the Wishboard. So we have a lot of cards, and you might see that we have a lot of cards that do the same thing. So for example, for Graveyard Hate we have the Cage, we have Cry of Carnarium, we have Shadow Verdict, we even have Bojukabok, and that's it. And the reason for this is that we want the perfect answer for the turn. So for example, sometimes you don't really need to exile everything at 3 or lower mana. Sometimes 3 mana sweeper Cry of Carnarium is enough, because the enemy has full board of 2 toughness creatures. So overpaying 2 mana on such a crucial turn can make a difference between playing only a sweeper and getting another huge creature in the face, and playing a sweeper and still having a counter spell mana. So even a Censor at some point, if like you have 5 mana, you can already sweep the board and counter something. So it's just better this way. And for the other cards, sometimes they can answer the artifacts. For example, Rakdos deck usually played Bedevil, so while this helps you, this won't solve the problem. Some decks don't have anything, and for example you can play Fae, so those cheaper cards are also better with Fae, because you usually wish and play the card at the same turn. From the Raven you have full turn with full mana to play something. So usually you get the bigger cards from this and smaller cards from this. However, you can just adjust. Sometimes you want a small play alongside the main play. So for example, you want to sweep the board with Wrath, but you also have 1 mana left. So let's get for the Gravedigger Cage. This makes the enemy follow-up turn very hard, and he needs to answer it first. And if he burns 3 mana on Bedevil, then you are ahead, because you can untap, and then you have counter spells in your hand available, and now the game stabilized. So this is the reasoning. We also have a lot of cards, because at some point you will notice that the Raven dies quite a lot. The enemy knows that it's huge that you see all the cards and draw the card. So usually it dies, and at this point maybe it's not a negative draw card, because the enemy had to use 1 card to do it. However, you just don't get much from it. So to counter it, I added a lot of value cards, but that are very situational. For example, if you know the enemy is playing like mid-size creatures, even like Gruul with Questing Beast or some kind of 3 mana Gruul, you can take the Great Shark, and then when they play something, you counter the creature and you have a big blocker. For example, I always love this card. You usually trade 2 for 1 with this, at least, and often even better. So for example, when you have 1 draw, this card gives you 2 cards in a way. Eldest Reborn, it's very situational. Sometimes it's too slow and you don't want to play it. However, if you are playing against someone who, for example, used all the mana to play Nissa and has 1 forest defending, you can kill the forest at the end step and then draw it and play on Nissa, and suddenly you have a huge advantage. So this card, for everyone that's not familiar, lately it's not used as much. First, the enemy sacrifices a creature on Planewalker. You cannot choose, so that's the problem and that's the downside. Next, the enemy needs to discard a card, and in the end you get any creature from any graveyard or a Planewalker from any graveyard. So you usually take the enemy biggest creature he played so far, and you usually either win the game or just, get so much ahead that you cannot really lose at this point. We also have Enter the Gut Eternals. In case you are against some kind of aggro, you just gain life, kill the creature on the board and have a blocker. So in a top deck situation, if you play this, you usually have like 3 for 1. The enemy needs 1 burn spell just to counter the life gain. He needs to kill your zombie creature, and then he needs his creature. So he actually needs 3 cards to do the same thing that you do with 1. So this counters some kind of, let's say, negative draw impact from the Raven warning. It's of course not strictly negative, it trades 1 for 1, but at some point you will notice that you don't really have too many cards when you use the Raven warning, and they have some ways to deal with the creatures, and let's say they have some kind of lava spike, they wouldn't be using this card very much otherwise, so it's not really that they lost much. Okay, and we also have Ugin, as always, Thought Distortion for any control matchup. Hour of Revelation, it's better than the Ugin in case of artifact decks, so this one that makes Karn, all the mana tokens and so on. This one can kill it and win you the game. Ugin cannot, because he doesn't target colorless. Heliod Intervention is good for smaller decks like this, that you want some creatures or maybe you just want to heal. Sphinx Revelation is very flexible. You can draw cards and gain life, and if you have like 7-8 mana and the enemy, the most important thing from the Raven warning, the enemy doesn't know what you draw. So usually he thinks it's some kind of sweeper and he doesn't want to play too much into it. And when you at the end step use this and draw 5 cards, it's usually game over for the enemy. So that's the reason. I also have this land. This clears the graveyard completely and also gives you additional mana. Sometimes I notice that I want to partially deal with the enemy graveyard, however I don't have mana to spend the whole turn on something. So for example, maybe Shadow Verdict or anything that costs you a lot of mana, because you need other plays, for example, to counter his next play or something like this. And in this moment I noticed that playing a land, and sometimes you just lack a land, like simply you just play the Raven Warning, then you have next land drop and you have 4 mana, but you need 5 for Shadow Verdict that you might have in the hand. But you cannot guarantee, and don't forget, the Raven Warning costs you 1 draw. You draw this card, you don't get into the hand, so then you are sure 100% that next turn you won't get a land. So this one fixes it, and you can get both land and some effect. So I really liked it, and I used it quite a lot generally. And one game I lost because I just had 2 Shadow Verdicts, and I lacked the land. And I decided I will waste 1 slot just to have the land. So this was after this game that this was added. So the introduction was super long, so thanks for everyone that stayed until the end, but I really like this deck. It outperformed my expectations by a lot, and I will play it much more. Not sure if on the channel, but like when I just go grind the ladder, I will for sure play with it. And the most fun about this deck is that everything depends on you and your decisions. What you wish, when you counter, when we go. So you have a lot of room to outplay the enemy. And this is what we like about being a control mage, right? We don't want to smash the cards on the board. We want to make a difference. And this is the deck that does it. So try it, and I'm pretty sure you will be very happy with how it plays out. And it's super fun because you get to do such a fun things, like with all of those, when the enemy sees the card that he knows you had to wish for because it's too situational to main deck, he will scoop. So without any other half an hour introduction, let's go to the games, and I really hope you enjoy those. And don't forget, if you like the content, we usually play the control matchups. Subscribe and like, it really helps the channel, and it helps me also. After you make the video, when you see someone subscribed, it's really like cool feeling. So thanks for everyone that subscribed, and let's go to the games. This is actually an insanely awkward hand, and I don't think we should keep it generally, because as you can see we lack the blue. So even if we draw the correct mana, which is blue, we still probably will play those 2 before, and this means that Absorb won't be at turn 3. We are going second, so it's even worse, and this might be a dead card, and this one on the draw is even worse. Maze Mind Tome and Doomscar are some saving grace. So probably the enemy is some kind of aggro, as usually. That's a tough choice. I think it is playable. Like, we have a lot of plays. We can remove, we can draw cards, and we can Doomscar on 3. You know what? We probably will lose, but I will try it. It's interesting hand. Like, it's quite bad, but at the same time you have a lot to do with it. And here we go. We are playing Magic correctly. This one was a huge draw, because it is even possible we go for Absorb pretty soon. However, versus Mono White we probably will counter. Yeah, so for sure we do this. And I think we get Doomscar, because we want to have instant sweeper every time we want. And this is a full mana discount, so sooner or later we will use the same mana. Okay, so I think we wait 1 more turn. And what will happen next turn? He will just spam a lot of creatures. I expect even Collected Company. And it will bring 2 creatures, so it will bring like 5-7 life for sure with this lifelink. So he attacks with everything and they will be buffed, so I'm at 10. And then he makes angels. And that's the plan, and probably that's when we sweep. We could even go for collected company. And negate. And I think we actually will. And the reason for this is that he might have bishop, and those anger tokens will be very problematic. It also makes it that it's not huge damage every turn. Okay, and he's at... I think he missed the land drop. So we probably want to kill this one. This way he doesn't get any kind of life, and he only has one life linker, so it will be 2 HP with the Angel of Vitality. So it's not worst. And oh man, right now we can wish for the sweeper even. Okay, so we have two roads to play this out. We can either be patient and just absorb whatever he plays or negates. I think he has collected company because he kept a 3-lander. So probably he has something good in hand. I think he has the collected company. So if he draws, he will play it, but on our turn, so we do waste something. And for this reason, I will go like this. Because tokens from this one won't have haste, so whenever he gets to 27, we always have one turn to sweep everything. So that's why the Speaker of the Heavens isn't very scary for control matchups. Okay? And that's good we did it like this, because we are safe from collected company and some huge hits. It's only 3 so far. And at the same time we get to draw a card, and we already have the Maze Mine Tome in the play. And now we sweep the board, and we are a very happy person. I wouldn't be super surprised if he sweeps after this. I will pay 2 life, because if he draws land it will be collected company. But for now let's just sweep it. And best part, if he doesn't draw a land and he plays a creature, we draw a card. So we never waste any mana. And that's why we are partially ahead, and partially because he missed the lands. Because he probably plays like 24 or something. I do not know, I just guess, and I assume aggro always are greedy. Okay, so it's getting better and better. And at this point I will blast a fairy, because I want to have absorb, whatever happens, and negate. And with the angel on board, he doesn't have 6 mana to buff it, so he cannot kill the fairy. Unless he plays something from hand, and with 3 mana he will play one thing, or at least one scary thing. So I think Scoop will income in 1 or 2 turns. Sure. Go for it.
Well, that didn't pan out.
I don't think much will happen in this game, to be honest. So let's go for Sensor. No reason to give him any tempo advantage. Let's not be super greedy. Especially that now we have the fairy on the board.
No time for a break.
So we can do quite a lot. And let's take it slow. So we have 6 mana. So absorb. We could even go for, let's do the second trailer. This makes the fairy like 100% safe. And with his mana base he cannot play more than 1 spell. Or at least not more than 1 threatening spell. The collected company is his hugest core, but it's too late. And it's perfect for our negate. Okay, even better. I think those are the only 2 cards that they really have. Ajani and collected company for negate. And both are very slow, because they take full turn for them. And we can counter them pretty cheaply. Generally it's not best to play both at the same time, you don't get a lot of value. but that's fine. We have so much value that we really don't mind. Well, and actually the second phase is doubled, so don't mind me. Doesn't matter. Okay, so they do play Heliod and Ajani, and they don't get the collected company. You
know what?
This is pretty good, but we would have to have something that will die. I don't mind him hitting the Teferi, honestly. So let's just wish for something huge, and I probably should think about it, but I will just with Ugin, so maybe he will scoop. Let's wait. Will he? Like he's thinking? I'm really hoping he will scoop, because I think the game is over and I don't want to play it out. But we have a player, so I guess we will play it out. Okay, buddy. You earned it. You have our respect. So we did this so we can fatal push and counter. I don't see what we will fatal push, maybe the Soul Warden, but I don't think it's any threat, so probably we won't. Okay, and what do we want actually? I don't mind this card, so let's give this to the enemy. And now we draw even more cards. So actually we can go for Ugin, I guess. So we will core 3. So we don't want to kill our own Fae of Wishes. So let's just get it so we can wish for another card. Let's draw, because why not? So the triggers don't really matter. So the only thing that matters is that first, this card that we are choosing right now will be second from the top, because it will be first from the top and then something will be put on top of it. Yeah. So this one is card that we will get in turn 2. So we have pretty much everything we want. I always like taking this. We probably should Sphinx Revelation just to have advantage whatever happens, but I don't really want to. And we have Ugin Sweeper, so let's go for just Absorb. Okay, so let's play it out. Nah, like, enemy will block it. So let's just go with the sure play. So we swap the board. Enemy can play one of those, so we do the plus. So we have 3 mana for Absorb. And that's pretty much it. And now we will probably attack with Ugin all the time. So the enemy hopes that we don't have enough counter spells. So probably we will counter the Heliod and leave the Ajani, because then we use Eldest Reborn, and for the token, if that's what he makes, we will use the Fatal Push. So the enemy right now hopes that we don't have anything to kill him, and he has time to maybe get to 35 and then use Ajani, but I think this doesn't kill the Planewalkers. Yeah, only creatures and artifacts. So I don't really see much possibility. But let's go. This might be the collected company. Yeah, I think it is. They usually always play something every turn, unless they get the company. So if we tap out, we counter one, and then we untap for the another. But we don't get to make 2 tokens. Actually, do we even want? At this point, I can just wish for something. So the enemy hopes we tap out, and then he can do his thing. We have one sweeper. Oh man, I don't even know what to take. Let's get this, whatever. Okay. So, show us. We know we have it. Who would know? Okay, so one is out of the way. So the enemy just hopes that he can play so many things that we lack counters and something enters. But probably after he didn't see the absorb because he doesn't see the sideboard. So I guess that's why maybe he played. Always worth trying, but I don't like. We had so much that it's nearly impossible. Even Ajani doesn't clean the planewalkers. So what do we have here? We have some non-white mana, and outside the Teferi we actually don't have anything that we need the white mana for. So we have some removal, we have some counter spells. It's quite fine. And we are against Itapuma. So Mr. Itapuma, let's see what you get. So the first turn will be Fetid Pulse, and it will come tapped, so that's a little slowdown for us. And I think the music is a bit too loud. So it's a bit of slowdown for us, but that's fine. Like, for 2 mana, and we have untapped land here, we can play quite a lot. Negate won't be very important, but maybe at turn 3. So we probably keep up the removal, and hopefully if he goes like Heliod or something like this, then we go negate. However, I'm not even sure if they play Heliod in this Angel deck. I usually don't see it. But you know, who knows, some players probably will do. But negate, it won't be very crucial card generally. Sometimes you catch a Johnny with this. Okay, so this one doesn't have anything, but we do know what the enemy will play. And actually I think we use Fatal Push for this. It's just a bit better. Okay, and now we have options. Absorb isn't an option. Oh man, we actually don't have options because we lack the correct mana source. So let's go for this, and I didn't play the tap land, even though I only want to use 2 mana, because it's possible we cycle it. Okay, so this is a collected company turn, and for this reason we aren't doing anything. Like, we are wasting mana right now. And this is a perfect draw, exactly what you wanted. So we have everything, and right now we will negate the collected company and kill the creature that will come next turn. Yeah, bring it on. We know. I find it funny that I think the green splash is only for this card, like all the decks play green just to use this card, and it's amazingly strong. Like, obviously, it's not a huge surprise. So this 2/2 isn't scary, so we want something bigger to target, and that's something stronger. Okay, so I wanted to wait to see if he has any triggers. I think he doesn't have any kind of instant spells. Okay, and this is a very nice situation for us. We even have Absorb. And at this point I will play the land. It's a 5th one, so quite important. And we aren't in a huge hurry. Especially that Absorb gives us some life, so yeah. It's very possible if you would tap out and play something, the enemy would resolve his spells. Like, he had quite a lot there. 3 cards, so probably like 1 or 2 runs and a creature, but when we hold mana it's quite obvious we have counter spells. Or at least some people believe so. So we don't have any removal, and that's a problem. But we have Shark Typhoon and we have Tome and Raven Warning, so we go for a sweeper, probably Wrath of God, unless it's some kind of graveyard thing, so then the 5 mana sweeper. So I guess. I would really love some Fatal Push or something like this. And who would know, another mono white. The day of mono white. And I know it's 2 colors, but it's oh, okay. Okay, so it's mono white with 3 color. Like, I know it's technically not mono white, but let's be honest, it's mono white. Just probably with splash 2 cards. Okay. I expected 3 mana Anger here. Okay, so what we actually want to kill right now? I think we go for the Bishop. It's the scariest one, because it gives life. So let's kill it now, and it's also more mana efficient, it's 2 mana. This one is also scary, but it gives HP much slower. I think that if we say go, the enemy will notice something is wrong. So let's just go for the Raven Warning. So this way we are pretty much guaranteed to get a sweeper pretty soon. We even can cycle the Shark Typhoon, but then at this turn we won't have enough mana probably, so maybe that's not the point. He knows that the Raven is more variable. Oh wow. And that's how you wish. You don't need those lame wish cards, you just wish for the card and it goes to your hand. So the enemy has 2 open mana. Maybe he plays some kind of flash creatures, but at this point you deserve it, man. If you have something like this, it's fine. Okay? And the enemy didn't have, so... Okay, so this is the card that he splashed blue for. And this is the card that he splashed green for. Not sure if both colors are worth it. And to assemble the whole party, it's a problem, but probably it's more about sacrificing and hexproof and indestructible. So we play it along the full board, and you know, it's hard to wipe it. But for the Shadow something, I always forget the name of the card. Oh man, I actually will try to check it. So collection, and I'm using MTG Assistant right now, and it's pretty nice. My collection. Oh man, you can see that I didn't use it so far. How is it called? Shadows Verdict. Yeah, so Shadow Verdict circumvent all the skills. And by the way, as you can see, so far we are 5-0 with this deck. So that's pretty awesome. Okay, so we have one timeout, we have everything. Actually, I should say sorry to my opponent, because we took a little bit with this. And let's go for this one. 4 mana is huge for us. And the enemy will use Collected Company next turn, unfortunately. So let's just give him. And he didn't get around. And I'm very happy for this. And that's a bit play. Like, it's not surprised that if someone has open mana and going full Esper control, he will probably have something like this. And I think this one is more scary. He will soon have 27. We will sweep very soon, but we don't have to do it yet. And we don't need Ugin right now, so let's just go for Shadow Verdict. We can even just go to Fairy. So the enemy probably will use Collected Company, buff everything, attack, then we sacrifice both blockers, the fairy is safe, then we sweep the board and he scoops. So that's the game plan. We have all the mana, white, blue, and I guess we want white and blue. We have double swamp for the verdict, so let's do it like this.
I know my response.
Unfortunately, we won't be able to play anything for those 2 mana, so this is a
Skip
bit
to the good
wasted.
part.
But we have the fairy on the board with full HP, and that's worth something. The enemy doesn't know we don't have anything, so let's just make stops, so we get like stop at the enemy place, so we can respond. Let's think, and usually that's how I try to, bluff, that we are thinking about it, and we let it resolve. Oh, we have counter spell, but we decided to not attack. And so far everything is according to plan except the collected company, which isn't perfect, because that's the big threat. The enemy should attack with both. That's a mistake. I wouldn't trade for small creature and waste a fairy pretty much. And let's go to end. We have 2 sweepers, so at this point we can use 1.
Hurry.
Because we can sweep and still counter spell the collected company, especially he doesn't have mana open, so he cannot do it during our turn. And at this point it's nearly game over. So this shows him that the board will be cleared, but he let it go, which is awesome. And Shadow Verdict is better. Versus this deck, it hits everything in the deck and it's just better. For example, this one, if this is on the board, wouldn't clear the board. So let's use it when we can. It's just not optimal card. It can work, but it's not optimal. And we will attack. So everything went accordingly to plan. He attacked, we blocked. We have Teferi, drawing and sweeper. And then he has nothing and he scoops. Yay, and we got rank up. So far actually this deck has 100% win rate, and I don't even mean games that you saw because I didn't record all of them. I actually played 6 games so far, and this is the only games I played since I installed the assistant. And I don't, like, of course it's not realistic that you will win every game, but I'm amazed we are doing so fine. I think this is mostly because we play a lot of mono white, and mono white are very susceptible to our removals because we exile everything and our cards hit 100% of their deck. So, and they cannot kill us before turn 4 unless we have very bad draw or we don't get any wish card. Okay, and now we have something else, so that's good, and the tome is amazing. Especially we are going first, so we need everything here. Maybe I could live with 1 Teferi less, but at some point it will be useful probably. And the tome is one of the biggest cards for the matchup. Not exactly sure what kind of Yorion deck it is. It can be some kind of ultimatum deck with the bindings and so on. So it's possible next turn we lose the tome. But I will risk it. I don't want to scry, I want to draw. So maybe I'm super extremely greedy, and I probably am. And I will play this land, just in case we want to cycle. If we get like 2 or 3 lands in a row, I prefer to cycle this one instead of having other one. And with Tome, we draw at least 1 card before it gets killed. And it forces the enemy to use it, so he won't have 1 for the fairy. Okay, so We have additional turn with the tome for sure. So it seems to be ultimatum deck, and this is probably Epiphany, so 6 mana, take a turn. And maybe this makes me scry. Actually should think about it earlier, because right now I showed that I may be looking for something, and this something is obviously a counter spell. So I will bluff. Life isn't very important in this matchup. You die either very fast or you are at 20. So let's just pretend we are so packed with everything that we want a double counter spell just in case. And I hope it scares the enemy, because nobody, especially in Platinum, will pay life unless he has something to do with this. That's perfect. A huge, slow creature that doesn't do anything. It's said that such an amazing card is so weak in this meta. 5 mana do nothing. Of course, there are some situations when the card just wins you game, for example against aggro, but without instant effects, cards are so weak generally, unfortunately, because everything goes so fast in Magic. Okay, and right now we at least have Sensor, and 7 mana is his big play, and I think he wants to play. If he uses Passage right away, it's probably one big card that he needs everything for. Oh no, it's Epiphany, and he will have 1 mana. Okay, but this is only 2 Ravens, draw a card. He doesn't really do anything except this, and play additional land, so try again. I want to see what he does, because if that's all he did, it's not worth it. Yeah, you will attack me with 2 birds, so a 9 turn timer. That's not worth 6 mana mythic, one of the few in your deck. Okay, unless he did it just to play with, you know what I mean, with additional mana. Then it's super smart by him. So, I don't think that will be needed. So what we are doing? We are going all in. This could be a fine card because it kills this Vorinclex thing that will attack. So maybe I shouldn't do it, but so right now we are looking at the negate. The enemy knows he did the right play, and actually that's impressive that he used all of this just to have this 1 mana and play around a card that we actually had. Okay, so go for it, man, and it's possible we just die, so it will be Tibalt probably, Vorinclex and Epiphany. I'm sure he plays more than one. Okay, Vorinclex, probably butchers it. Okay, so this one. Okay, so he will take it, whatever we do. Yeah, I think we don't want this one, because then he can take everything back. So it's a bit too much value, and even I think he cannot take ultimatum though, but other than this it will be like this. I know that has super a lot of sense.
Loyal and silent.
Okay, so we didn't have counter sport. Good game, and let's give him heart. He played it very well. No shame in conceding to this. Okay, so Giganta. Okay. This hand is pretty slow though. But we have Raven Warning, so I hope that will be enough to carry us into the game. At least we can have some runs and possibly find an answer to enemy threats. It will be hard to live until turn 5. And we will scry with the tome every single turn, just to hopefully maybe live until turn 5. We have some life gain, so we have total of 26 life if we are fast enough. We can even go for Heliod intervention just to gain some life. But as you can see, the enemy is going insanely fast with everything. So next turn he will probably have 0 cards in hand. Well, probably 1 or 2, but you know what I mean. We are already at 10, 9, and we just played 2 lands, and that's all we did this game. You have to love it. Shark Typhoon. No, we have 3 mana price, so we need something better. This seems to be better. This one doesn't really serve much purpose, and we already have the card that we want to fetch, so that's a tough choice. Because this is pretty much 1 instant card a turn, but he has more, so let's go for this one. And on the good side, we can either draw with the tome. Yeah, it's better to draw with the tome, no sense to cycle it. It's... yeah, okay. But it has summoning sickness at least. So, let's draw. And I was too late on the stop, but I think we probably wouldn't use it anyway. And we can either go Raven and just block the Lava Runner, or go for Shark Typhoon and kill it. But we probably won't survive. Okay, so the Raven Warning it is. Because if we survive next enemy turn, we can use the tome and survive even more. But if we don't, it's better to have 2 life from the Raven right now. Because Shark Typhoon only gets you block, and Raven gets you block and 2 life. So it's just better. And that's fine. That's actually one of the best things that the enemy could do for us. Because it will be swept, so we don't... like, it doesn't change anything, literally. And it's 3 mana for nothing. So, I like it. Absorb is quite huge. Okay, I'm taking it. Because it pretty much saves you like 5 or 6 HP. Because they have removal, so you counter it. So you prevent 3 damage and you gain 3. So at some point we will probably be top decking, or at least the enemy, and this one prevents like 2 or 3 top decks. So yeah. Okay, I'm liking our situation actually. Especially that we have Wish. So we might even get some life gain effect. The only problem is that this turn we cannot do anything, and the enemy can play something big. And if we are forced to Shadow Verdict again, it's just bad for us. So as long as he doesn't play any kind of creature or big creature, yes, that's perfect. Yeah, go for it. We are at 10 life, don't forget. And given we have Absorb, I'm not scared that he will burn us in response to gaining life, so I don't need to Storm right now. Okay, and this is a very important choice. I think the Absorb is amazing. Like, Absorb does everything we want. We don't have 1 mana more, so we cannot use the fairy. Unless we can. Because the fairy is huge, it brings a lot of tempo. So the enemy won't sacrifice the land. He will either use card he draws, so worst case Lava Runner with haste, or this one, which isn't a problem, or just burn something for 3. So we are at 3 then, and he doesn't play a creature. So actually I think we can survive not doing anything for a turn.
Let's slow the no time for a break.
Yeah, I think it's risky, but that was correct play. Because I cannot imagine anything from his deck that would actually prevent, like, deal 6 damage and also prevent this from gaining 4. And we wouldn't use the tome at the end step, just to make sure that he cannot do anything in response. So he wouldn't kill us. And then we have to Absorb and infinite mana, because the fairy is very balanced. And tome with, like, we have everything then. I like how we played it.